Hey, and welcome to the Weed Out, where we weed out the bullshit and talk about the nonsense happening in our backyard. I'm Spencer Fox Peterson. Joining us this week is Akil Vix.
What up?
Hey, Akil. Glad to have you back. Been a busy summer for everybody. How's your summer going? We're at the end of it, but how was it for you and your family?
All in all, good summer. Uh, got to do a bit of traveling, see some family. Busy, tiring at times, but that's adulting. But yeah, how about you?
Summer's busy time for me, so steady.
Mm-hmm.
But we got through it. Now we're kind of in a lull, and I'll take it. So, um, I like this weather. I really like this time of year.
Oh,
So,
I love the fall. Yeah, no, give me fall.
yeah, I'm a New England kid,
Hoodie
so
weather.
can't take that away from me. So this is like the warm and fuzzy feelings from childhood. Uh,
Uh-huh.
sugar, apple cider,
Yep.
Halloween, all that.
Halloween.
Oh yeah, exactly. So we're definitely witchy friendly here at the Weed Out, and so as always, we're talking about cool stuff because that's what the cool kids do, eating candy and shit. But we're gonna talk about some weird guys, and I say weird, and I know the liberals and Democrats are saying weird, but I think we mean weird differently. But Akil wrote a piece for his Substack about the weirdos and the whole phenomenon. So I think I'd rather let you expound your ideas and tell us about what your piece was about.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for having me back. Always a pleasure to be here. Um, so yeah, I was just thinking about the whole weird discourse. And I will say, like when it first started rolling out and Tim Walls made it a big deal, I was totally in on it because I am one of those terminally online sickos who knows a lot about these alt-right spaces and figures that the average person doesn't know. And if you're in those circles, the one thing that stands out is that these are the weirdest motherfuckers that you will ever meet. So like when I first saw it taking shape and the Democrats using it, my initial thoughts was I'm in the twilight zone because the Democratic Party is actually doing good politics for once. Um, you know, dumping Biden, picking Walls, and then going with weird, I thought was a string of like pretty solid political decisions, regardless of what I think about them as a party. Just in terms of like if you just want to think about it in terms of the horse race, nuts and bolts. How do you beat the Republicans? I thought, okay, they're making some good moves here. Um, and of course, like there's a really good podcast, Know Your Enemy, that uh tackles looking at the alt right and the mainstream right, just like the right as a political tradition and a historical political tradition. They look at it from a lot of different angles, and they have been tracking a lot of these guys: J.D. Vance, Curtis Yarvin, Peter Thiel, all these guys. So like I had some knowledge of what like a character like J.D. Vance is about. Like I kind of knew about like the fact that he's out here talking about childless cat ladies was not a surprise to me. Um, and I got to talk to one of the hosts of that podcast about specifically these kinds of post-liberal conservatives that were taking over the party. And the main thing that I got from the interview was that these guys are really fucking weird. um and it is a good political bulwark against this kind of fascism, to point out that like you know this isn't really a program for the common man, right? Like they want to dress it up as we're looking out for the poor residents of Springfield, Ohio, but like really the meat and potatoes of what these guys want is they want to have a state of elites that tells everyone else what to do and how to live, to the point where a person like Curtis Yarvin, who is JD Vance is a follower. Um, Blake Masters is a follower of Curtis Yarvin. They're actually monarchists, right? They actually want to install a CEO. They want the government to be privately held, right?
Mhm.
And so this is all just weird shit, right? They want to like make it a Christian theocracy, right? They want to tell you, when you should get married, right? Like if you're not married by 25, you need to be press ganged and getting married to a fertile brood mare or whatever. And so to call attention to that as these guys start like mainstreaming their ideas and mainstreaming their particular quirky brand of fascism, um, it's a good political move. I think it's a worthwhile thing to do. But then I remembered that this is the Democratic Party. And I don't trust that something that is as politically effective as the weird slogan is only ever going to be applied to things that you and I would consider weird. Like it wasn't that long ago that they talked about Bernie Sanders as if he was this weird little socialist from Vermont who doesn't know, oh, that's weird, Bernie Sanders. Um, I think I think a lot of people remembered the Howard Dean moment where you know poor guy lets out an enthusiastic scream on the campaign trail, and all of a sudden he's political persona non grata
Well,
around.
in all fairness, what they did with that Howard Dean thing, as I was in college at the time studying communications, and that was at this weird time where cable news was really had 10 years in of just like gripping the American public with 24/7 news. And they just beat that fucking 2-second clip to death. It was like, yeah, yeah. And every radio station you tuned
Yeah,
into, one of the drop buttons was, yeah. Like, and he was basically memed to death, but with old school technologies.
yeah.
And then now that kind of funnel system of like, there's only so many channels like cable and main local radio, it's things like that pop off in the internet, but it's definitely a little more organic. um
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
we have a little more democracy on it. It's not just coming from CNN, it's coming from sure, under the Fed News, or somebody, but who's probably tied into the establishment.
Right.
But there's also other people with their take on it. But then, like you said, bringing up all this weird shit that they do and say, like what they said about the racist race baiting that Trump and Vance have been doing. That's just, it's not, I feel it's disingenuous to like use that sound from the debate to make jokes, because I feel like it just reinforces the racism. And
Yeah,
what
I
it's
think
like,
people
it's
are
it's
like
a fine line, and not
I,
everybody's comedic geniuses. So,
I kind of feel like people don't fully like grasp how racist this is. Like,
and
I
even
think they're
just
kind of in
giving it,
shock.
I think giving it any sort of oxygen in any way, like even just playing that sound, that clip on TikTok, like it's just like, oh my god, you're ruining this. Like you're fuck. Like people don't. They're just gonna. It's gonna associate with funny videos now, and
Uh huh.
this is exactly how he got elected last time. He got memed into the fucking White House because he said wild shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Democrats fumbling the bag, right after they had this string of good political decisions, like you were saying, it's very on brand. It's almost like that's their job. Um, build up a little. They're professional edge lords, really. Um,
they
they're really
they
good
they
at edging
couldn't
their base.
they couldn't wait after like they've basically followed the advice of the left two times for the first time in their political careers, and then they couldn't wait to just say, well, you're not getting any more out of us. Oh, we're going to start fracking. Oh, we're definitely arming Israel. Oh, we're definitely doing Trump's immigration plan.
And I
Like,
would just like to tie something back. Just I said that the way I use weird, and I take exception to the Democrats and liberal establishment comparing. I was a proud weird kid growing up. I was a weird kid. Like that was
same here.
I was in the weird kid group. I wasn't cool. I wasn't uncool. I wasn't picked on per se. I mean, I went to an all boys school. Everybody got picked on a little bit, for better or for worse. But I was kind of in that weird nebulous zone where, and then people were like, that crew is a wild card over there. Like they might actually, if they'll fight you, and biting is on the table. Like, they're weird, but they don't like to fight, so they may just lay down and take it. Who knows? One of them might call you daddy. And, yeah. So I resent them taking my one of my identities, childhood
I
identity.
Yeah, no, I mean, like,
Don't compare me to these fucking people.
it's so easy to forget, half of the stuff that's like major pop culture now, I was getting teased for like being irrationally into as a 10-year-old, right? Like, there's a fine line between being weird and being, like being a multi-billion dollar franchise. So like, these things are not fixed in stone, right? These are
Right.
the idea of weird is
And
ephemeral.
labeling people as others is, like, in my opinion, inhumane politics. I know that people are like, well, we can't always go take the high road. This isn't really about taking the high roads, but remembering that everybody's human. And that means even when it's somebody that wants you dead, you still should want them to have food, water, and fucking shelter, like regardless of how they feel about you. I mean, that's where your ethics.
Yeah.
I can understand why there's people where you're going to struggle with that feeling, and and I'm not
Well,
expecting anybody to be perfect because sometimes people do you wrong. You know? But yeah,
like, and,
anyways,
and and that's the like that's the sweet, humane, humanist way of looking at it. There's also just like the fact that when you do that, especially with like Republicans, and the relationship between liberals and conservatives, like when you otherize that in such a way where you're making it out that like, okay, this is this weird outlier of human political expression. Like we don't have to really engage with this. We don't really have to interrogate this in any sort of way. It's just weird, right? It's just these weird people. We don't have to like, you know, give a serious look at like the politicization of manhood and how that
Mhm.
plays into like why these politics become so appealing to a certain kind of like, white dude in their basement. Like we don't have to think about any of that. They're just weird. And then also you don't have to like consider the fact that, you as the good liberal may also be susceptible to this kind of thinking, right? Like
Right.
uh the whatever they're saying about Haitians now, um, you know, a lot of people who are still respectable and not considered weird are saying very similar things about Palestinians and free Palestine activists. Like there's this kind of thinking isn't limited to crazy monarchist post-liberal reactionary conservatives. It's just kind of stock reactionary politics, like, and anyone can be susceptible to that kind of reactionary politics. So I still like it. I still kind of like it because it makes them mad. They can't gish gallop their way out of being called weird, right?
No,
Like,
I think you have to. I really think this is where I get frustrated with recently liberals, but just in general, people when they're um dealing with any sort of conflict at the workplace or anywhere. You can't just have one mode, and I'm guilty of having one mode. I'm a hammer. Like I just historically just get in there and I say what I say, no nuance, and it's not a great thing to do all the time. And I've learned that, right? But like when you're making fun of them, you can't just be like, hit him with the weird, and then just be like, "Ha, got him." No, you have to like also, I don't know, hold them accountable for the crimes they're doing, and then
Right.
hit him with a, and you're an absentee father, family values. Like, yeah, sure, you can do that because, like, yeah, Donald Trump is an absentee fucking father, and he has lots to say about how other people are raising their kids. Fuck you, dude. Like, like you're a piece of shit. You've had how many marriages that ended very badly for you? Well, at least the women didn't think very highly of you when they left you. And yeah, you're a piece of shit. You're not a Christian man. It's just a fact. Like, but you got to hit
Yeah.
them with, you got to make fun of them. You got to hold them accountable for their crimes. And then you got to,
And,
hit them
well,
with
and
some truth.
you also have to like provide. You have to like I'm not saying you need to like write a whole Jacobin article or anything, but you need to like establish the fact that like yeah he's weird. Also, this is fucking fascism. This is
Right.
racist.
It's not
So like
sound bites.
there's like the moment in the debate where the famous moment where they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, blah blah blah, and like Kamala, she's got her playbook, and the playbook is like laugh and say like, oh, talk about extreme, um, and call attention to the fact that this is a weird thing to say about actual human beings. But at the same time, she goes out and she's like, we're trying to pass this bipartisan immigration bill that's draconian and accepts the racist framing and premise of how a lot of people view immigration in this country. We're going to accept the premise that we have to keep dark people out of the country, or like limit the number of dark people that we have coming into the country. But it's a little weird to say they're eating dogs and cats, like that
Mhm.
kind of rhetoric.
You're
In
moving it. The
Yeah,
Overton
like
window literally just moved
you
right
just
there.
exactly. Like you might like in the eyes of like the Saturday Night Live watchers, the late night talk show host crowd, like yeah, you might have won that in the moment, but you're still ceding the fundamental position, which is a freaking racist, fascist position. Like our immigration system has always been a project of white supremacy. It's not,
Mm.
and it's never been about anything other than preserving America as a white European, whatever white means at that decade, because what
Or
didn't the
yeah, who can
Italians.
make us money? Who can make
Right,
us money?
yes. Right.
Who
Who
can
who
bring
are we
money in?
allowing in the club? Yeah,
Mm.
that will facilitate the movement of capital, and excluding everyone. Our first immigration law was called the Chinese Exclusion Act.
Yeah.
Like, it they put it in the title of the law, like,
Land of the free.
yeah. So, like, to I don't know, like, I feel like, I think that I'm hoping that the feline massacre is blowing up in their face. Um, I hope that the net effect is that people see this and think that it's ugly and despicable, and they're like, all right, I don't want any parts of that.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, there are a lot of people who know it's not true, but they don't care because it feels true. And I've always said this about Trump. Like, I think liberals misunderstand the fundamental thing about Trump, because like when Kamala comes up there and says like this guy's a felon and I'm a prosecutor, I'm a cop and he's a criminal, like they're saying that because they're thinking that there's some sort of logical consistency behind the fact that the Law and Order crowd, the Back the Blue crowd, also happen to be large Trump supporters, right? They're banking on this idea that there is a logical through line between being, pro police, pro law enforcement, and rejecting a presidential candidate, a party figurehead who has a lengthy history being in trouble with the law. What they don't understand is that Trump is not a person, right? He is a signifier. He is a human meme. Like he's a container for all the white grievance that conservatives have worked so long to build up in this country. It got away from them, because Trump is not a very reliable or controllable or predictable political actor. But this was the culmination of the right in this country, aided a lot by the Democrats and the
Right, yeah.
neoliberal turn, you know,
That's
building
the
up.
thing about the whole Project 20. It's like, yo, this is called the Heritage Foundation. They've been around since the 70s. And I swear to God, ever since fucking Jimmy Carter, the Democrats have just they've been fucking Charlie Brown with the football, and then aw shucks. That's the game they play. Aw shucks. Well, if you vote for us and you donate to us, we'll protect your right. We'll make sure Roe remains the law of the land. No, we're not going to codify it. We'll make sure it stays the law
Yeah, well, Obamacare was based on a plan
from
from
the
the
Heritage
Heritage
Foundation.
Foundation, right? So, like, are we saying that, like, in, I don't know, 30 years when it's Democratic president, Taylor Swift is the are they going to start pushing Project 2025 shit? It's like, it's like, here's the compromise.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, pretty much. Because at the end of the day, they both serve capital, and this is why I can't take the Democrats seriously. Shocker, anybody that's listened to 2 episodes. Um, and the reason there's a consistency, it's not white grievance. I promise. I know it may seem like that, and I would totally understand if that was your takeaway from somebody like me, but it's because they literally are willing to sit down at the table and discuss terms with people they claim are monsters. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You don't do that. You say, no, I'm not fucking doing that. I don't give a shit. I'm not having a discussion. I'm not negotiating with you. Two can play this game. They play it with you,
Yeah.
and it's been my whole life now. So it's been like, 4 or 5 presidential elections of my voting life, and 6 or 7 presidents total. And it's, those cycles. I'm just talking in terms of cycles. It's the same bullshit. And then people who are uneducated or uninformed or ignorant, being not their fault. That's the point. We're meant to be busy and tired and undereducated and under resourced. So we don't have time to think critically about this. And yeah, the cycle continues, and then a lot of people in their gut, including some of these MAGA folk, and that, listen, I know some of them are racist. I don't speak my own father, MAGA guy, but that's because I couldn't convince my own father to treat trans people like they're human beings. So sorry to put you on blast, Dad, but like, they're human beings, and I will tell that to anybody, anywhere, anytime, and it's as simple as that. So, but it's different. That's my father, and that's somebody I expect more of. But a MAGA guy who I don't know, he's just mad that it's not fucking. He knows the system's rigged,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying I like the things they condone, the people they keep company with, the things that they're willing to let their politicians get away with saying. I don't like any of that. I hate it. But I want you to be fed, and your gut is right. You're angry and you're right, but you're blaming the wrong reasons. And I don't know how to
Well,
teach
like,
you empathy.
pragmatically, that is the only real way to, like, solve this, right? We're not gonna shame this away. We're not
No,
gonna fact
unfortunately.
check this back into the closet, like, we have to understand why these kind of things appeal to certain people, and like, address the conditions. I mean, I think that one of the biggest things that, like, liberal media just doesn't touch whatsoever in any serious way, and I've seen a lot of discussion about this in, like, leftist spaces on, like, BreadTube and Twitter, a lot. But just, like, the manhood as a concept is so socially fucked and constructed,
Mhm.
right? Like, there just isn't a lot of, like, positive examples of masculinity, um, or just, like, positive examples of what it means to be a man, right? Like, what makes a man a man. Like, there's just not a really good template for that that's not grounded in all the toxic shit that we are calling out now, and, you know all the things that go on in the news. And what you see throughout history is that, like, manhood is like one of the first and most thoroughly commodified, like, social identities that, like, you know like, in the same way, right, that, like, Black Lives Matter took off and all these videos and everyone wanted to be anti-racist, and then all of a sudden, Target has a black section, or like Netflix has like a black voices tab, right? And it's all this energy is immediately commodified and commercialized and sold. Manhood was like one of the first things that happened to in modern society, and I think we're seeing a lot of the effects of that, because, like, manhood went from being something that you, like, achieve by doing something to something that you are able to afford, right? You buy statuses of manhood. And now manhood is pretty much defined by exclusion, right? Like presenting yourself as, I'm a man, and then these are the beta cucks, or these are the less than human immigrant hordes, or whatever. And all this right wing propaganda and rhetoric plays very well into the idea that the only way to establish yourself, to establish your identity, and now we're just going beyond even manhood, but just your identity as a American, or as a, even just like a human being deserving of rights and liberty to some extent. The only way for you to, like, actually define that and know who you are is by identifying the people who aren't, by, like, identifying and otherizing and ostracizing the people, the negation of your identity as whatever, American, a man, a white man, or a Hispanic man, whatever identity the only the only way that people are allowed to construct that identity is through exclusion. And that is just perfect for reactionary conservative politics, because that's all they have to offer is exclusion. They can't offer anything positive to anyone. They can only offer a scapegoat to be, pilloried in the name of fixing everyone else's problems.
And then the liberals or the centrists or whatever you want to call them come in and they normalize, they smooth out. We're having a conversation about um, one thing, this heinous thing. The liberals come in and they go, "Oh, hold on, guys. You know, they're upset. Let's hear them out. What's your grievance? Oh, they're eating the cats and the dogs. How about if we, set up separate stores to sell them cats and dogs to eat?" And then everybody's
What if we
like, "But whoa, 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 whoa,
what if we
whoa!"
have
And then we're sitting there going, "Wait a second. Their original, why are you even accepting part of their original claim as you're splitting the difference right after well, here's one set of facts, here's another set of facts. I'm going to take and I'm going to combine what would neatly combine as being down the middle and fair." And it's
and
like,
that's
wait,
why
what? And also, so what if they eat cats and dogs? The worst thing they did here, if this happens, is theft of somebody else's property, which I do have a problem with. Like, that's not cool, man. Like, you can't just go up to somebody's farm and take a chicken. Like, that's not cool. No fucking do that. If you're hungry, ask for food. Like, that's just the polite thing to do. Like, and so what this whole accepting that, yeah, it is weird that people eat cats. Dude, don't ask questions about what people fucking eat. I don't ask what you eat.
but here's
It's
the thing,
fucking
they're
weird and
not,
intrusive. Even if
but
they
they're
are,
not. Yeah,
even if they
but
are, I don't give a shit.
yeah,
Personally, just to
well,
be
like,
clear,
yeah,
as long as they're
but
not
also,
stealing somebody else's property, like yeah, I'm a butcher, so I'm just like, I've
yeah,
had people ask me if I would butcher weird shit for them, so like I'm not shocked that people are eating cats and dogs. It's just not a weird thing. I mean, I wouldn't. Because I've been
like,
socialized a certain way, and it's like certain cultures like cows, right? Like revere cows. Like they must be mortified that I'm like ripping cows apart for a living.
yeah, no, yeah,
So
but
I
like,
get it,
but these are also the same people that were, like, celebrating and supporting
Wearing kente
RFK
cloth.
Jr.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Sorry.
right? Like a man who's definitely eaten dog for sure. among
Because it's
other
like,
things.
listen,
A guy who cut off a whale carcass head and strapped it to his car roof with his daughter inside and drove down the window. And we're talking about geese? We're talking
yeah.
about geese?
And last I checked,
Really though?
the average community wouldn't hate to see a depopulation of their geese community. Like, I'm not saying you should be going to eat wild geese. Like, this is
No,
not an endorsement of
I'm
anything. I'm just saying, like,
I
whoever has
think
complained about that, honestly, who's ever complained
it,
about that?
and I take your point about like, yeah, like in some cultures they eat dogs and cats and other animals that and like every culture has some sort of cuisine that's and another culture would feel like, oh my god, that's disgusting. I take all that. They are not fucking eating pets. This is you know people talk about like blood libels in the news a lot. This is very much blood libel. This is the
Mhm.
same. This, you
Yeah,
know what this
exactly.
is? This is the same shit that Columbus used to
Right.
justify the genocide of indigenous peoples, in Hispaniola, right? Like
They eat
they're
guinea pigs.
cannibals.
Can you
They're
believe
eating. They're
that? They eat
yeah.
the guinea
They're
pigs, these little
right.
rodents. It's
Right.
like,
Like
what? Yeah, fuck you,
yeah.
dude.
This is classic dehumanizing language design, and it's working. There's bomb threats. People are getting there's people saying their cars are being damaged by like Proud Boys are showing up. Like this is going to get someone hurt, and like this is
And it
I
won't doesn't
expect
it
it.
doesn't necessarily mean just a Haitian. They don't know what a Haitian fucking
Right?
looks like.
No, right? Yeah, they don't fucking know.
They don't
They were
care.
swearing that woman.
They couldn't point a Haitian flag out in the lineup.
They swore up and down that lady going through a mental health episode in Dayton, Ohio, who did eat a cat in an obvious mental health episode. But they were like, I saw some comments in tweets where like people would be like, guy, like, there'd be inevitably the person to say, like, this isn't Springfield, that woman's not Haitian. And literally people were like, I don't know, man. She looks Haitian to me. Like,
Yikes.
what
Yikes.
about her yeah,
Yikes.
exactly. Like,
Yikes.
like it uh
Talk about you don't know nothing about colonization, you fucking asshole. Um,
yeah.
but regardless, I I the only jokes that I have found universally acceptable and funny is when they say, "Yes, there is a group killing all these dogs, 10,000, up to 100,000 a year, and they're cops."
Right.
Like that
Yeah.
one's like, yeah, exactly. If this doesn't get the liberals upset, I don't know what will. Like,
I,
just
yeah.
show them how many dogs they fucking kill. Show them how many dogs they kill. Like, and they're
Oh
not,
my god.
dude, they
Yeah.
just kill dogs for
Fucking
fucking fun. That's what they do. I swear to God, they just kill dogs for fun. Like, there's so
dude,
many
the Marshall
stories.
Project should have like a dog killed vertical. Just
Jesus.
stories. Just like how like Fox News always has a headline like
Yeah.
today in black crime. The Marshall Project should have like a today in cops killing dogs.
Jesus Christ. Like, like I am at a lot, and this is why I think I have the most smoke for liberals. And I just have no, because like I don't want to negotiate with these conservatives. Like, I don't want to do business with you. Like, I don't want to be associated with you in any way. Like, good luck. Good luck, I guess. Like, I guess we have to figure out what that looks like. But I I I I feel like in theory we should be able to be on common ground with liberals in some capacities, but their ability to like normalize fascism it's just
I,
it's absolutely confounding, and it's like there's history books written about this, and they're
there's
just doing the
history
same
books. Yeah.
thing over.
Well, because they are capitalists,
Yeah.
and a capitalist wants a stable, known, context in
Mhm.
which capital can move freely. That's their primary concern. If they think that if they believe that enough people believe that immigration is an actual problem, an actual threat to the country, then if that means they will stay in power, they're going to buy into that narrative at least
Mm.
somewhat so that they can quote unquote appeal to, the moderate, or the centrist, or the independent voter. Basically appeal to the type of people that want to kill Donald Trump, because that seems to be the
Right.
only people that try to assassinate Trump are like people with really weird both sides of the aisle like independent politics.
Yeah, and I can't help but like feel like this cycle has been very much, maybe I'm just tired, but it feels like they're not even hiding that this isn't even how the world is run. This is all just theater to keep you people busy. And it's really Jeff Bezos and other billionaires deciding which states stay states so then they can keep their agreements for their shipping, you know.
Yeah.
And like people we don't even know their names, like what's his face's wife's family. Wow, that was quite a sentence. Senator McConnell's wife, who was in Trump's
Oh
cabinet, her
yeah.
family is like
Uh-huh.
a
Uh-huh.
Chinese shipping magnate,
Yep.
multiple generations.
Hmm.
Like those people, I feel like it's families like that are the dynastic monarchs of our time, and it's genius because we will never see a lot of them or even know some of these
So
people exist.
so this is where it's interesting, right? Like really doing these like deep dives into the right, because there's a tiny bit of a civil war, right? There's the
Hmm.
old money contingent, the old money capitalists who like already own everything, right? And then there's these new tech guys who have a bunch of money, right? But they don't have a lot of like this institutional like purchase where they're like, it's not that they have a lot of money, but they own the bank, right? They're not at that level. They have money through like the evaluations of their companies and the things they own, where they're like, they're on par, like, they're the richest people in the world, Elon and Bezos or whatever. But they don't have that same level of, I'm just gonna have the government do crazy shit on my behalf, right? They have some measure of influence, of course, but it's not the same. It's not the same as like the banks or like the major real estate players. A part of that is what drove the blockchain and Web 3.0 and the metaverse, right? This
Yep.
is these tech guys attempt to create a new realm of free real estate where they could be the JP Morgan Chase, and they could be the Rockefeller, Carnegie and all that stuff. And when that went belly up because it was always just the next fool fallacy, now they're trying to build their own cities, right? They're trying to buy parcels of land in California, and and sometimes even going to other countries and trying to like, there's a what I can't remember the name. There's a bunch of billionaires suing a South American country, because the previous right wing hyper capitalist government had signed this agreement with these billionaires to like give them their own state within their state, right? Like give them an autonomous libertarian zone, one of these like Gulch projects, and
Yikes.
then but then democracy happens, right? The right wing guys get voted out. There's a left wing government. I'm pretty sure it happened during the pink tide. Um, and the new government's like, no, we're not going to like just give you this land tax free, give up our sovereignty, let you do whatever you want on this, our land. Like, we're not doing this. And now they're suing the billionaires are suing the country over this. But that's the kind of stuff that they're moving into now. But these guys aren't old money, right? And as a product of that, they don't have the same reverence for the system as the old money guys do, right? And you see this uh Dick Cheney is going to vote for Kamala, and like all these former Republicans and like Nixon staffers and Reagan staff are like, we're this is too much. We have to we got to defeat Trump. We're going to support Kamala. Um and it's because those guys have a vested interest in the status quo, whereas your Peter Thiels, your Elon Musks, and then their
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg, and their patrons, JD Vance, Blake Masters, and any number of MAGA guys who are trying to like, toady up to the main power in the Republican Party. These guys don't give a shit because for them, the old systems aren't letting them have the power that they think they deserve, right? They think that they're better. They think they're smarter because they're in tech and they've built fucking, stalking apps. So they think that they're inherently better and they deserve this power. So they're, they don't like democracy. Um and the old guard is like, look, democracy is fine because we have all this leverage over how democracy operates. So it's fine that we have this,
You gotta main
sham.
you gotta crowd control, guys. You're going too hard, too fast. Like,
Right. Right. They're young, they're young.
yeah, they're
But
not. It's like, hey, we're blue bloods. We've been. That's why I always laugh about Massachusetts politics, because like when we see other states and other parts of the country doing foolish shit, it's like, oh no, we've had this shit on lock for so long. The money here, the family's been running their shit for so many generations. Like, even when there's scandal, we'll just move right through it. The government
yeah.
will just move right through it, baby. We got a plan for that.
I mean, like I said, the only person that we know for sure who has eaten dogs is a politician from Massachusetts. So
I mean, hey man, we have a little bit of everything. You have your communists and you have your weird Hollywood / political elite / kooky uncle RFK, who had a brainworm, right? Wasn't that his thing?
yeah, yes, he had a brainworm.
And he's like, he was an
Yeah.
environmental guy, and he's like now endorsing Trump, who's like doesn't think climate change is real or matters, even if it was, because they'll just make it something so bigly. Um, it's very
I,
dark. It's all dark.
there the Behind the Bastards podcast did a 4-parter on RFK.
Yeah.
I recommend people check it out because however crazy and whacked you think RFK Jr. is, you don't know the half of it.
I
That
have a pretty good idea. Growing up
well,
in Massachusetts, hearing stories
yeah,
about Kennedys in general, I'm sure he's maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't be so confident, because it's one thing the Kennedys can do is always really set the bar on depravity.
yeah. The thing that comes clear if you listen to that podcast is that like none those kids just never had a shot. They just never had a shot at being normal because of the
Right.
way that family was structured.
Structured in the what happened. What?
And what happened to them? Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
like,
There's this hilarious anecdote when they were kids.
and also what they did. Let's also not forget, like, they weren't great.
Yeah.
His daddy was. I don't know if we're. I'm a huge fan of his policies as AG, but regardless,
Yeah.
sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, it's just this really funny anecdote of when they were kids, RFK and his brothers, like they would go behind a car, and when the car moved, they would one of them would scream and lay on the ground and pretend to be dead. And when the guy got out of the car, they would go, "Oh my God, you killed another Kennedy!"
Yikes!
I kind of respect that. That's a class 1 joke right there.
Oh God! Oh my God! Excuse me, everybody. Wow. That is dark. Yeah, the Kennedys. I mean, it's such a funny feeling, and maybe this is where my streak of wondering what the fuck we are doing here with, because everybody I grew up around kind of fucking hated the Kennedys, all the working class people I knew, probably because they got tired of their bullshit. After, like, all these people are way older than me, so they've been around. Maybe they're tired of hearing about their bullshit, like, causing a ruckus when they come to a bar in town or a restaurant, just like, the shit that adds up over time. And just being kind of an elite family and always getting away with shit, killing people and not being accountable, for example. So maybe that's where my questioning, because, like, while also being a Democrat, it's like, but they're like the face of the Democrats. I don't understand. How can you be a Democrat or support, the blue, and then like kind of hate one of the symbols of said party. That's kind of weird to me. And I was like, oh, they just live in contradictions, constant contradictions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the poor. I almost feel a little bad, um, because yeah, who wants to be fucking Charlie Brown?
I not I.
Not me, man. And it's not, and then I also don't want to be Lucy. I don't want to just be about winning. Like these
Right.
Republicans, they just want to own and win and own and control. And it's like, and then it comes out in weird fetishy ways, like JD Vance has opinions about how women's reproductive, or people who can birth humans, reproduction works, and I don't even think they understand how it works either. It's like so obvious. It's like, guys, if you're gonna like have an odd obsession about women's uh bodily functions, like at least know how it works. And I'm not confident you know how any of it works.
Well, that's the curse. That's the the tech guy, IT guy, the physicist curse is that like you know a lot about one thing and then assume that you know a lot about everything else because you're in a context where everyone blows smoke up your ass. And so, you know, and a lot of that is just you can say things about people safe in the knowledge that that shit's never going to affect you.
Yeah. And so like, I guess to wrap it up with this whole point, we started with weird, and we can just end with it. It's, yes, it's weird, but really they're if anything, it's weird, comma, fascists, because they're
Yes.
fascists, but they're also have a weird tinge to it. So like, weird as an adjective is fine, but to describe them solely as weird, I feel like it's disrespectful to weird kids.
Right. And also it's disrespectful.
It's
It's disrespectful to weird kids, but also like fascism is weird. Like fascism is inherently a
for
incoherent ideology. Like
Yeah, so
it,
for fascists, they're weird.
yeah,
For fascists, they're like weirdly obsessed. They like want to do the Handmaid's Tale. Weird shit.
yeah. It's a fascism made up of completely of the guys from like Hellboy, right? Like the guys that Hitler ended up like not liking because they were too weird for Hitler. Like that was those fascists. We got the guys that want to like convert their bodies into smoke-filled cyborgs and be made of knives. Like those are the fascists we get in the 21st century.
It's very strange. But also, we need to stop. We need to build community. We need to remember what this is about, because this is partly spectacle, and yes, there is real life consequences to the policy, to the decisions, to the vote, all that stuff. This isn't to make light, but so that's like why organizing, or even just kind of even checking your friends and family when they talk about things, if they say something that's kind of inhumane, like, you have your nice way of correcting somebody you love, like, they're like, hey, I don't know if you thought about it this way, like, there's a way we can talk about this, but we shouldn't be making jokes about the migrants that, it's the thing of the Haitian thing. Sorry, sidebar.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
migrants that got whipped at the beginning of Biden's presidency. Did you know they made
yeah.
commemorative coins within the
No,
department? Yeah, it's
fuck.
I don't, maybe I've only seen one thing on it, so but it doesn't matter. That just I saw something
Uh,
about them having commemorative coins, so I haven't confirmed it. I haven't like I shouldn't have said it like that, but it did
I,
remind me of that. That's like,
yeah.
dude, they just get tortured, like, historically, the Haitians, like, they're just
Nonstop.
it's just like everything for the last 400 years at least, politically, for them, it's not even been politics, it's just violence.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
It,
even
it,
political violence, it's just violence. Everything is violence towards them. It's despicable. And shame on the
it,
Democrats for not sticking up for them better.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. No,
Like, that's really the takeaway. Shame on you guys. You fucking suck. Like, yeah,
yeah,
the Mealy Mel
for
bullshit they've
real.
done is
Like,
not enough. It's not.
yeah,
But fuck them.
fuck 'em. Fuck
But
them.
we also have to, so I guess the point was community. We need to make these systems irrelevant. We should still participate in them, but they're not going to save us. They're meant to perpetuate certain systems that are meant to harm or not meant to harm us, but do harm us. And I guess maybe some of them are meant to harm us. Depends on what you mean by the word meant means. Um,
Yeah.
I guess to quote Billy, President Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Yes, that guy. But moving along from weird and talking about federal fascists and the weird fascists of JD Vance and crew, because let's face it, they're trying to rattle Trump. Somebody's trying to rattle Trump with these assassination attempts, in my opinion, because these are really they're shooting from 500 yards away with AR-15s style rifles. It
Yeah.
makes no fucking sense. Makes no sense.
It's so
I don't
weird.
get it.
It's so weird.
And it's
I
these
but
fucking
I also can't.
yahoos.
I also can't. Yeah, I can't also roll out that it could just be our politics is so diseased that we are producing these completely
That's
incoherent, crazy people that are you.
that's
I don't.
that's Occam's razor. That's the simplest explanation, honestly.
Yeah.
Based on how we just came out, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we're in denial of it. So for some of the people, maybe even listening, the pandemic was a thing. No, it's still happening. People are still dying, and people are getting reinfected and all the stuff. Wasn't an episode about COVID, but just a reminder, it's still a thing. So this all it's so fucking gross and twisted. It's just everything about what we're going through. It's so obvious. Like these people, our community members, have been through many traumatic events and been inundated with these phones in their pockets with this information, and maybe don't have media literacy or self-discipline, or maybe they're going through other things, and that's how they end up in QAnon, because
Right.
whatever they're going through in their life, they end up finding community here, because at the end of the day we all need community, right? And that's how these kind of weirdos, myself
Yeah.
included, we find one another. I needed
Yeah.
friends. That's how I met Joanna, not because I needed friends, but I needed comrades in the being around normies all the time. I was just like, this can't be normal. You guys say, wow, what happened to George Floyd was bad. It's you don't understand how fucked up it is that there was 30, not 30, but there was a whole bunch of regular normies who had to sit there and watch
Yeah.
because they all know if they get involved, more than that man is going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They everybody knows that in their bones. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
kind of broke my brain when I was with people who did not understand that concept. I'm more shook by the 9 minutes, because there was all these people watching an execution and they all knew they couldn't do shit.
Yeah.
They would get shot or get racked up with charges or whatever.
The 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 cops themselves, the other three cops that stood and watched it, they were doing the same mental calculus. I'm pretty sure. It's been a long time. I remember I wrote about it, and I'm pretty sure that one of the cops, there was a black cop who watched it happen, and there's his from his family. It was he joined the police to change it from the inside, and that's where that ended up.
And this might be a good segue to ghoulery and tomfoolery, but I just want to, because that guy was a trainee, I believe, or one of them was a trainee,
Mm-hmm.
literally on one of his first shifts, maybe in his first month.
Yeah.
And he just stood there, and that's a deer in headlights. You're culpable though, dude. You have a job to do. Snap out of it. What the fuck are you doing? And also, you're preventing other people who don't have a job to do but gladly would help. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Rip. If that was a barroom situation, how does that play out? No uniform, no badge. That's just two guys. How does that fucking play out? Somebody
Someone
else is
drags him off.
ripping him
Yeah.
off, and it's not going that far. And they'll
Yeah.
cool each other. They'll drag them, one guy in one direction, one guy in another direction, and calm them the fuck down and make sure they don't cross paths and try to figure it the fuck out. Because that's how you
Yep.
fucking do it in a healthy community. So we need community. We don't need these cops. We can make this shit irrelevant. And not to like ever sympathize with people who make the choice to be a class traitor. I do have empathy because I don't want anybody to be harmed. And to be a cop, to dehumanize your fellow man, to be your uh I get really angry about this and emotional. So sorry if I feel stuffed up, but it's just like to make that decision, that's a monstrous choice in my opinion. But I will also give people grace, understanding that they've been inundated with propaganda and expectation, yada yada yada. But you have to be dehumanized, and there's a process of dehumanization that happens to these officers when they go through these trainings and these like culture routines, and we're seeing it
Mm-hmm.
like manifest. It ends up harming not only the public in so many ways, and then individual cases of people who don't get justice because of how policing is culturally and systemically.
Mm-hmm.
They're hurt too. Like they're really
Yeah.
fucking hurt. So this brings up
Yeah.
ghoulery and tomfoolery. Um, basically, there was an officer in training, a patrolman or a trooper for the Mass State Police patrolman. I had this article pulled up, and of course I closed it or something. Uh, I'm actually going to pull up the NBC Boston article here. It's labeled "Former classmate, Mass State Trooper, Mass State Police recruit speaks as death investigation continues." Enrique Delgado Garcia, 25, died at the hospital Friday after becoming unresponsive during a training exercise at the Massachusetts State Police Academy in New Braintree. Um, basically, I don't even really want to read the article. I'll link it. You can check it out. The reason I don't want to is because it's basically propaganda. Like, there's no way to know what the
Mm-hmm.
truth is. It's all suspect. The family doesn't know the details. They won't say if it was a fight, if it was hazing. They won't, like, they're not specifying nothing, and that's all. It's cop shit. So it's just take it all with
Mm-hmm.
a grain of salt. I don't even really want to. I get so mad about this stuff because I don't care about the individual cases. I don't care about Sandra Burt. Well, I do care about Sandra Birchmore, but I don't care about like these individual stories of cop corruption, like Officer Proctor in the Mass State Police being a corrupt investigator. Like, I don't really give a shit. I know all of them are corrupt. Like, I don't care about highlighting random ones because then we put the Derek Chauvin in jail, but yet more police killings have happened every year since putting Derek Chauvin in jail. So congratulations, Derek Chauvin is now in jail and being harmed, being
Mm-hmm.
stabbed. And again, no sympathy for the man, but how is this going to work out? Like, how is this solving any of the fucking problem? Nothing like at the bar where two people get dragged away and there are people helping mediate, talk it through. Let's calm you down. Maybe not talk about it for a couple days. Make sure you stay away from each other. We'll make sure we can maintain the peace. And then let's figure out once we're all calm and what was the problem. Like,
Yeah.
that's how a healthy fucking community works. And not to beat it to a dead horse, but it's just goddamn so frustrating. So this poor 25-year-old person is dead, and he thought he was doing the right thing. He was there, basically same thing you just said. Change from the inside about the,
Yeah.
because people want to help their community, and this is advertised as a tool to do
Mm-hmm.
such. And it's not their job at all. And to dehumanize your community, you have to be dehumanized yourself. So
Yeah.
just ghoulery.
Ghoulery. Straight ghoulery.
Sorry to like hog the mic there. I just get
No, no. Yeah, no,
just like
yeah. For
it makes me so, and like, and this should be a unifying factor in my opinion. This should be like the rainbow coalition of policy. Like, this harms so many fucking people. Like,
Yeah.
this institution is like creating these people who are abused and damage themselves, who create them become monsters and go home and abuse their fucking babies. and their
Yeah.
spouses and create new monsters. Like in this Karen Reed case, like it's being alleged one of the guy's sons is like kind of a fucking problem child who gets in a lot of fist fights and like is runs the town with impunity. Like this it I have empathy for them as human beings, but you know, this is what the system breeds. You know, it breeds these behaviors. It a lot, maybe breeds is inappropriate word to use, but it
it,
nurtures.
it it reproduces the conditions for, the to maintain expendable populations, and to reproduce the types of people that are necessary to control expendable populations. um where like you said, it's a cycle of violence. Like, yeah, I think you put it perfectly. Like, throwing Chauvin in jail doesn't help anything, right? It's not addressing the core issue that, we have a police that feel the need to, like, put someone in a chokehold over a potentially counterfeit check, like, or a counterfeit bill. Like, that's a problem in how we, like, value humanity, and like how we see, what's the best way to deal with each other as human beings. That's not an individual problem of Derek Chauvin and George Floyd. That's a cultural problem about how we see poverty, crime, disorder, and how we dehumanize people based on those designations.
Yeah, and do you remember? I remember seeing the in circles like the almost like they were justifying. They were trying to explain, give the context and the nuance of the situation, but like they were basically I smell like apologia for the cop, basically like, oh, he and George knew each other, but it's like, yeah, he knew him in a
Yeah.
professional sense. You know what happens to me at my job if I know somebody in a professional sense, and maybe they're not a client, but they're, you know, the person who asked for donations on the way out of a supermarket. And maybe I have to do some business on behalf of the company at a supermarket, right?
Mhm.
That'd be like me punching them in the fucking face and expecting no repercussions. Like, I mean, but
Yeah.
worse, killing them, It's like
Yeah.
expecting zero repercussions. And like, then they'll offer them, like, even within their own, they other and ostracize when necessary. So they will make the example of George Floyd. And even with these billionaires right now, they're making an example of Diddy. Because it's not lost on me that this is a black man. New money,
Yeah.
black man, new money, like new money. And he had to do some bad things to get where he got. New, like, as much as he has leverage on other people, plenty of people have leverage on him. And it was his time was up, and they'll make an example out of you, and they'll be like, see, we dealt with the corruption. Hollywood and the music industry is good now. We got rid of it's like when Weinstein got axed. Somebody had to go.
Yeah.
Same thing happens with these cop gang circles. Like what's going to happen in southeastern Mass with the Sandra Birchmore, Karen Reed, all the things that are going on down there with all the various police. Like literally, it's like this incestuous network of. Want to talk about fucking those are loser fascists, high school bully losers,
Yeah.
like people
Yeah.
that fucking literally peaked not even senior year, they peaked fucking junior year. Like they are literally still like dreaming about going to senior prom, and that's when
Mhm.
they'll be the happiest. Like that's the types of people that are running the police, specifically in southeastern Mass. But that's just because I have, that's where I'm from. I feel like I get to make fun of them a little harsher. I don't know if I'm sure all police are immature because you have to be stunted, man. Like to think that this is working, or like, like some
Yeah.
guy went viral on TikTok for being like, yeah, we break check and do stuff just to fuck with you. And it's like, why? Why?
Who do you think that's helping?
Well, yeah, who the fuck? If anything, I would really appreciate y'all being a pace car. Like if you could learn, if we could actually fire y'all and hire cow herders for the Mass Pike, and just instead of riding horses, they ride in fucking the souped up SUVs that y'all got. We take the armaments off of it, but like let's fucking let's corral people on the pike, because sometimes if we could just get a little coaxing and hey, move the fuck over up here, slow down up here, like there is a
Mhm.
way to manage the traffic. I'm not saying it's a perfect solution, but it would be a good use of the current equipment that we have. So
I say
better
let's
use
try it.
better use than letting these fucking assholes tailgate people on the Mass Pike, and like just because they can. Like, yeah, we
Yeah.
like giving you a jump scare. And it's like, why though? So you admit that that we're afraid of you, which means in
Well,
theory, culturally, you're the bad guy.
yeah. Do you remember the whole ice cream thing when they would like
Which one?
take they would like pull people over and freak them out and then be like, "Oh, I just wanted to give you an ice cream ticket."
Oh
Like
my
and like
god.
the whole, the whole purpose of the joke is that like you're, the poor person behind the wheel is like fucking afraid for their life that a cop pulled them over
Or
to seem, for no reason because they know they didn't do anything.
the run girl run moment I have, and I don't say things like that, but I would scream it in a public, like just with the inflection and everything. Run girl, run, run. Like the I would do it. I would be so emphatic about it if I saw firsthand a woman being pulled over by her police cop buddies to get proposed to.
Oh Jesus.
Have you seen that shit? Like it's in the end of Me,
No,
Myself,
I
and Irene, but they do it like people do it and put it on
yeah.
TikTok and shit. It's the end of Me, Myself, and Irene with Jim Carrey and Renee Zellweger. That's how he, a
I do
cop,
remember that now. Yep,
proposes.
yep, yep,
Like
yep.
literally pull her over, illegally search her, and use as the opportunity to then pat her down, and he gropes her without her knowing who's groping her, and it's him. And then he's like, "Want to get married?" And she's like, "Yeah." Um but yeah, that's what's going on with these cops. Like they're fucking nuts. Like they will
Yeah.
literally terrify their future fiance by having their gangster buddies pull them over, and then they pop out of the back of the car and they're like, "Hey, you want to get married?"
That's I think, I think we overuse terms, but I think that's a red flag. I think that's a
Oh
red
my
flag.
god, that's not even a red flag, bro. That's a bullseye. Like, get the gun, do what guns do, like, like, and then run. Like, but yeah, I can't say what I think on radio about some of these things. I'm just like, goddamn, why are people so stupid? Stop fucking with cops. Stop promoting cops. Stop hiring cops. They just are. It's toxic. They're toxic. They, even if they were fine going in, it's dehumanizing. They'll fucking kill you. They'll fucking
Yeah.
let you get killed at your not even on the job, in training.
Yeah.
And these are not like isolated cases. These things just sometimes finally like seep through the cracks, and the internet's really helped with that. But like there's like this crazy thing that happened in LA about a whistleblower, and he got beat to
Mm,
death in a quote unquote training exercise. And it's like, this is
I
police
remember
stations all
that.
over the
Yeah.
country, because he's got like, and cops are up to all sorts of nefarious. They all got skeletons going on. And like, it's not one thing. They're not all pedophiles. They're not all thieves. They're not all, they just got the, because they got power and nobody overseeing them, and all the fucking benefit of a media machine that's glorified them. It's crazy,
Mhm.
and it's effective. And I'm I am mad, and I am impressed about how willing they're to commit to the bit. Like, but I am really mad about it. So yeah, fuck the police. They'll even kill themselves. They have no loyalty. It's like the worst fucking gang.
I mean, that's what they started as. That's what policing in America started as.
Yeah.
They were
The
gangs.
worst.
They
It's
were
the worst gang, and they got a union. It's like, it's the worst representation of what solidarity is. If
yeah.
I could think of like what's the opposite of solidarity, I look up the word police union. It's like, and it's like, how the fuck is it even possible? Like, fucking god damn it. But remember, they have a hard job, right? Life or death.
It's
They're not
it's
they're,
yeah.
they're not trained
Split
like,
second decisions.
they have more training than you, so you should listen to them.
Yeah, they've
Oh,
seen things.
oh yeah. maybe I don't trust people who've seen things with guns. You know what I mean?
I mean,
maybe we're
yeah,
like, maybe that's the time we take the gun out of your hand. Once you say things like I've seen some things, it's like, yeah, we're gonna take the weapon away. That's cool, man. We're gonna give you something easy. We're gonna live that to somebody else that's in a better headspace for that. Because like, when I went to the gun, LTC course, basically like, if a loved one or somebody you're around with guns, they say things like that, like you got to find a way to like casually be like, hey man, if you're in that position to be like, I
yeah.
don't feel comfortable with you having your guns when you're saying stuff like this. So why the fuck are we letting cops walk around and use that as an excuse?
Do you know how many dead dogs that they've seen in their professional careers?
Listen,
It's just
do you know how many pit bulls just like chilling they've had to shoot? Like, listen,
well,
they're more aggressive.
they didn't shoot them. They were shot in a police involved altercation.
the gun the gun fired a bullet and the dog is dead.
The pit bull was struck by bullets. We don't know how they got there, but the poor dog was struck.
The metal hit a dog in the mouth. Anyways, so that's the ramblings of two crazy people at the end of a day. And I just
Hey,
wanted to,
actually, can I
yeah, please,
because
please, please, please.
I come on the show and I feel like I talk about awful fascists
Yeah,
and awful
please
liberals,
bring joy.
but yeah, there's a campaign going on in Massachusetts, an off-ass state, the Yes on Two campaign. Um, and if people don't know what it is, it's basically there's a standardized test for kids in their senior year of high school. Standardized tests are not good. They're not great for measuring, actual intelligence or telling you if a kid is ready to participate in society. They'll tell you about a kid's area code before they tell you about how smart they are. But because of the neoliberal metrics based no child left behind, we have to figure out some way of punishing schools into being better. uh, Massachusetts is one of 8 other states that has a law that says that if you don't pass the standardized test, the MCAS, you can't graduate high school. And a lot of people think that that's common sense. If you can't pass the test, then maybe you shouldn't get a diploma, which is leaving out that there are a lot of kids who, for several different, very legitimate reasons, it's hard to take a test. It's hard for a test to accurately demonstrate their level of knowledge and learning. And there are kids who get left behind. My wife is a former teacher and school social worker, and she's been going around to some of the local communities and telling the story of one of her students who got uh was earned valedictorian of his school. And this was a school for troubled kids with IEPs who need a lot of support. But this kid put in the effort, put in the time, put in the work, got the grades. But because of his disabilities, he just couldn't pass the MCAS, and so they stripped his valedictorianship away from him. um and that's just dehumanizing and disheartening, and is not really a good reason for it. So this November, people have a chance to go into the ballot box, say, yes on two to decouple. It's not getting rid of the MCAS. It's a thing that like a lot of people who are kind of fear mongering and lying about this. It's not getting rid of the MCAS. The MCAS still is a test that kids have to take. All it's saying is that if you complete your coursework, if you get the required grades in your classes as a high school student, you should be able to graduate, regardless of a standardized test that you know is not a good measure of anything. But you know, so like in the grand scheme of things, it's something that's relatively small. It's not gonna like make world peace or solve capitalism, but it will make a difference in some kids' lives and for a future generation. So it's a little thing that you can get involved with, you can do to make things just a little bit better. And I think that's important. even if this electoral stuff doesn't ultimately won't save us, I think it's still important to like find some places where we can get a good win.
And use the tools that are at your disposal. Voting is one action. There's a million actions, and I'm not to say I think people should use their voting bone. That's my opinion. I'm not going to shame anybody who does or doesn't. Like that's your choice. Like that's your autonomy. Um, because I do concede a lot of the points about the system is rigged, and not even concede. I fucking flat out agree it's rigged. But I think it's not a bad thing to like community wise, like show like we should be showing an effort. We should be, because that's scary to them too. These people
Mm-hmm.
are, oh my god, they're all talking. Oh god, better throw them a bone. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that's the thing with these tech bros. They're gonna find out. They might blow the whole game up. You know, that's the best case
Yeah.
scenario for us. It's terrible because there'll be a lot of people harmed. I mean, there's a lot of people being harmed right now. AI is the devil, and not to get off topic from what you were saying. Yeah, so remind me again, what was it? Which way on two?
Yes on
Yes
question
on
two.
two. Yes on two in
Yeah.
Massachusetts, and this is the thing. Elections, like I just voted in a primary like a week ago or something, right? Like they're all the time. So like elections aren't just presidential, and there's more on your ballot than just um, representatives. There are questions, and then you can see how they'll find creative ways to tell us to go fuck ourselves when we actually do
Yeah.
direct
Yeah.
democracy. So it's like it's a
For
good
sure.
exercise to just participate in because it will get you reminded about how much they loathe you and your opinions. And yeah, so on I am fortunate because I think my parents, whether they realize it or not, like knew I had some sort of learning disability, like whether ADHD or whatever, but like
Mm-hmm.
high masking, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So like I went to private school, so I didn't have to deal with any of that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do, but because standardized testing in like I fucking hated bubble tests, like I fucking hated it. But you give me like any other kind of test of knowledge, I would do much better. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it would be an oral presentation. It depended on what was required, but like something I can engage with and touch. Yeah, I can. I'm not just going to regurgitate or like pick the most those tests are like how well do you understand systems, basically, like how
Mm-hmm.
do you understand probability. They want to like, because we're going to give you these weird questions and then give you the answers to see if you can suss out in a timed fashion. Like it's a very specific skill set.
Well,
Just looking
and
at
it's this.
baseline.
Yeah, it's a skill set that measures your capacity to prepare for that kind of like the people that do well on those tests have time to do test prep. They have the money to buy test prep materials, to hire a tutor. They're not going to work. They're not taking care of their, either younger or older family members. It's not a measure of intelligence or learning aptitude or absorption of knowledge. It's a test of what your capacity is to fulfill this specific kind of task, right? And it's a task that will do you well in an office job, right? You know, I have an office job and I have to like take these little trainings and do little bubble tests and like read disembodied passages and regurgitate the main themes to get by. Like, so like it's a specific kind of skill, but it's not a measure of like a person's uh you know how much of knowledge that they've gained, their capacity for critical thinking, their capacity for future learning. And there's a whole history. We don't have time to get into it now, but there's
Yeah,
a whole
I
history
mean,
of
short,
standardized testing.
in my opinion, like the IQ testing, or it all goes back to like literacy laws and yada yada yada. It's just another way to gatekeep. And honestly, to me, it's literally it's just eugenics. Like it's just another eugenics project. These standardized testing. What is standard? I want to. Who defines standard? You know what I mean? Like just the words alone scream eugenics to me. Like maybe I'm
You
talking
are
on my
not.
ass, but
No, you're actually not. Oh man, next
I
time I
know.
come back, we'll talk about it. You're actually completely spot on. You
It's
with
just
the
weird.
history.
It's weird. It's
Yeah,
weird because listen,
yeah,
it's like I could give an anecdote as a cook, right? So I was a line cook for a long time, spent a lot of time doing food service and really making prepared food. And so I worked with people that went to culinary school, some really good ones. And I worked with some of them right out of school, and they would be working for us for free after paying God knows how much money to go to culinary school, just to see if like they could hack it in a high paced environment. And meanwhile I'm making like, $16-17 an hour maybe in New York City at the time. It was not great money, but sounds crazy. I bet I wouldn't be able to like have a pot to piss in if I was getting paid that down there now. But um there was something about like you have to do it. You know what I mean? Like you can't like you can do
yeah.
everything in a standard thing. You can like learn about concepts of cooking. You can have the perfect. Everybody has their own perfect little station, little sink. They got that's not how kitchens are though. Like, and every kitchen is gonna be fucking different. And some places you just won't work out at. Like it's like baseball teams. Sometimes you just won't fit in. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not great. It's not fair. It's a shitty system. I hate it. But yeah, like some things you do have to hit the ground running. You can't standardize it. And there's knowledge that there's also guys that I worked with that literally didn't speak a lick of the same English or even Spanish. Like there's some dudes that only spoke like some dialect from Guatemala. It was like Mayan, and I don't even know what the dialect was, to be completely honest with you, because like we could not communicate. But like they could do things at work, and they were very efficient, and affable and personable, and like even though you couldn't communicate, like they were good with nonverbal communication, like even better. Like they kind of taught me because they had to learn how to do all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. You know what I mean? So like I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of even learning more nonverbal communication because of them. And it's just like that's a level of you can't measure that shit.
Yeah.
Like what are we talking about? What is
Or even
standard?
if you can, you can't measure, you can't can collapse all of that to one little number with a
Right.
standardized test. There's just no way.
Yeah, and it's just another way to keep people in their box, and it's
Yeah.
indirectly, directly, and the compromise you've been saying, hey, we're not getting rid of the test; it's still going to be there. It's like that's the bone to you, fucking weirdos that don't want any change because change is scary, but also you want to feel better than
Mm-hmm.
so bad. You need a number on a paper. We
Yeah.
can keep that. Just it can't bar them from fucking getting a job. It's bad for the fucking economy. You stupid. Like.
Yeah.
Oh God! If every job requires a high school degree or a GED and they can't pass the goddamn tests, like not even
Well,
to be like care about the welfare of the humans, just talking about your goddamn system.
yeah.
You got to feed the system with something.
Yeah. Well,
Bananas,
you
dude.
feed it with this disposable labor. I mean, in the end, that's what this is all about, right? Creating disposable, exploitable labor so you can keep wages down. It's a whole fucking thing.
Bunch of Nazi shit. And yes, so
Yeah.
yes, that's America. And the lesson here is with these tech bros and their weirdness and all this stuff is you can't go too hard too fast, right? This is what happened with Nazi Germany. They went too hard too fast. They went after people that lived in Europe. They weren't going after faraway brown people, right? They
Yeah.
crossed the line.
Yeah.
They went too hard too fast, right? America, how we ethnically cleansed this land, it took centuries, to
Mm-hmm.
it took time. So people forgot, or people didn't work. Things travel by fucking horseback. So it's like
Yeah.
different context, right? But yeah, we don't, not to steal from common, we don't have to go back to any of that bullshit. And these dudes are gonna go too hard, too fast, too close to the sun. And hopefully, not if we're gonna have to face some sort of radical change in this country. I'd rather that than like the Dick Cheney style, just because this will facilitate people not putting up with it. You know, the Dick Cheney style, Kamala Harris, I guess, condoned style of American imperialism. That's the Coca-Cola. That's the American Coca-Cola imperialism. They don't want whatever Diet Mountain Dew. And no shade to Diet Mountain Dew. Diet Mountain Dew is delicious with some Taco Bell. Like, what are we talking about? So also stop like making fun of people that like Mountain Dew. liberals now
Yeah.
purity fucking there's plenty of liberals that like Mountain Dew, assholes. Anyways, don't make fun of people's likes, tastes, and needs. And if they're fascists, just make sure clarifying heavily emphasize that they're fascists. You know, they can be weird, but they're fascists.
They're fascists.
Yeah, so,
that matters.
And they don't even get mad when you call them that. That's another
Not
thing.
anymore. It's
You
like
can keep
mask off.
pointing that. Yeah, you can keep pointing it out. They'd be like, okay, keep calling it whatever you want to call it. I just want to do America first. It's like, yeah, it's fascism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay, call it that, I guess. Yeah, fascism. Who Mussolini? I mean, some of his policies, what happened to him? Oh. Any hoodles. Ghoulery and tomfoolery. Don't join the police. It could get, and don't let your friends become police, because
friends don't let friends
become cops.
Apply.
Yeah. Just do your best. Remind people that if we all don't join, they'll have less human cannon fodder, because they don't care. They don't care what even happens to their own. They don't care.
Nope.
So just like capitalism, it's a match made in heaven. Anyways, that's the weed out for this week. Appreciate everybody listening. We've been doing the longer episodes. Appreciate Akil for staying up late and joining us to talk about all of this weird stuff. And hopefully everybody joins us next time on the weed out. Talk to you soon.